Hello, everyone. Welcome to Bartell's Money Talk. I'm Johnny.
And I am Teresa. Thank you so much for joining us. Are you a real estate investor? Are you considering becoming a real estate investor? Well, we have a brilliant expert with us tonight who has built $50 million in assets. So I recommend that you stay for this episode. So, Mr. Fuquan, can you please introduce yourself to us and tell us all about your journey?
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. It's an honor to be here. I started my journey. My name is Fuquan Bilal. I'm the CEO and fund manager of NNG Capital Fund. We are a boutique real estate firm located here in West Orange, New Jersey. I've been investing in real estate since '99. Kind of jumped out the window and grew wings falling down, as Les Browns would say. And kind of cut my teeth in, just really focusing at that time. The market was buy, fix, and sell. So I really created mastery doing that until about the global financial crisis happened in '08, where the market crashed and values went down 50%. Got punched in the face at that time and had to pretty much start all over again. So I still do real estate till today. Really now focusing more on rentals. Still doing we do a lot more ground up construction, and we do some luxury flips. So those are the verticals that we specialize in today. And we partner with accredited investors, high net worth individuals, whether you are married and earn $300,000 or more, or single and earn, $200,000 or more. Those type of investors will qualify to partner with us on deals and make some great returns. So, over the 26-year journey, it's the market has been up and down and round, but that's pretty much how it goes. Ebbs and flows, peaks and valleys. And it's for me, I wouldn't change anything that happened along my journey, because there was all learning parts, whether there was financial losses that I took in the GFC and learned that cash flow is king versus just going after the big chunks of cash doing flips. So having a diversified strategy is key.
Okay, and so that's very, very good. But inquiring minds want to know, can you give us just a tidbit of what actually happened to you in 2008?
Oh, wow. What happened to everybody back then?
Yeah,
It's for me, I think that the biggest takeaway for me was I did not have a network, right? It is the saying that I'm pretty sure you guys heard: your network is your net worth, right?
Right.
Yep.
So I was the lone soldier. I was the one man band, because I was young and making money. I wasn't mature at the time. I got into business at 24 years old, so I was pretty much still a kid. Didn't have any financial literacy when I grew up. So went through my materialistic phase and, living from check to check, still with flipping houses, and had to learn really quick to kind of start building wealth. Learn more of that after the GFC, though. Because before it was very transactional: buy, fix, and sell, taking the money I made from one, going into the next, living from deal to deal. Made a lot of money, but really didn't have a chance to have, or the foresight to be around in those real estate groups like you have a lot now, to kind of learn what the market was doing. I was just very in my own world market. What I had going on, had several other businesses that I birthed from real estate, and real estate was my identity. So when the market crashed, I had no identity. I didn't know where I was going to go. I mean, I had other businesses that I managed, but real estate was really my identity. So I had to grow up real fast and basically, learn how to be a landlord, how to be satisfied with those smaller rental payments and focus on appreciation versus the big chunks, right? So banks stopped lending during that time. It became a tougher climate to do deals in. Because before that, a monkey in a suit could have made money. Anybody who can fog a mirror, basically can get a loan back then. So it was easier to do transactions. And then when the bank started to tighten up and started to underwrite deals differently, a lot of rules, a lot of regulations changed. It became tougher to be a real estate investor. You had to really be a serious investor. Because I had the know-how to fix houses and the relationships, I was able to get back on my feet a few years later to restart my journey. But I lost a lot of my own personal capital. I didn't file bankruptcy like a lot of people did. I paid off all my investors, but I just had to start all over again. Went through divorce and all the other stuff that you go through when you're in the financial crisis. And that's the journey I went through. I am market cycle tested. I have the battle scars.
Well, you survived.
Yeah. And sometimes that's the best kind, to be market battle tested, because at least you learn the lessons along the way, and you know what to do and what not to do as you move forward.
Yeah, it's still a journey. I mean, what I like about real estate is you never learn it all. right? There's so many different facets of real estate. So many, whether you're buying notes, whether you're doing subject to owner financing, it's so many different ways that you can make money in real estate, whether it's lease options, commercial, residential. So you never know everything. I try to really find a niche, build mastery, build processes, and stay within that. So along the journey, still today, there's still challenges. When we had COVID, there was things that
Oh yeah.
we all went through, right? And we learned how to build a tougher, more resilient business through there, how to make sure we have a better burn rate, that we evaluate deals, we underwrite deals more, much better. You learn those things as you go along. And I don't think you ever figure it out. I think you just learn a lot of lessons that make you sharper.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And that's true, because you spoke of, some of the struggles and stuff. So what are some of your like biggest challenges, I think, that you faced when you was trying to raise that $50 million in capital? Because I know there had to be some challenges along the way. What are some of those? And then what did you learn from those challenges?
I think the first one was self-doubt, right? Because I didn't grow up in a high net worth area. So me having the belief that I can raise money. And I remember my first fund was a $2 million fund. And even back then, that was 2013 when I launched it. That was after the GFC. Before that, I raised money from private individuals, hard money lenders. That was pretty much my network. And after that, I was actually entertaining I had went into the note business, learning how to buy paper from the banks. And I used some of my own capital, built some case studies, but I wanted to, move it to the next level and scale, because I had tapped into a hedge fund who was selling notes, but I wanted to be able to buy more. So I basically started to research how to set up a fund, connected with an SEC attorney, developed the fund, and thought, because I created this fund, that money would start pouring in. But, it first started off with friends and family, unaccredited investors, which it was limited for me to raise capital because I couldn't go out and promote a market to unaccredited investors. I had to have relationships. So that starts off with friends and family. And it was slow. It took about 2 years to raise a couple $1 million. It was really hard. I mean, I flew to every event I can go to, every real estate event, spent a lot of money in marketing, going to different RIAs, going to different places, building my footprint. And, even then, what I was raising capital for, I had a limited track record. So what people was investing in they was investing in me. Right. The sponsors. So it took me a few years raising money from friends and family. And, after that, I quickly learned that I didn't want to deal with unaccredited investors, because these are people, if they have 50,000 to invest, that's all they have, right? They can't take a hit to lose that. So, they're calling you all the time. What's going on? This and that. It's constant. You're managing people. You're not managing money, is my experience. It could be different for others, but my experience, raising capital where people would give me 10,000, 15,000, 20,000. And this was all the money they may have had in their savings, or maybe half the money. It became more of managing people. And when I started to look at a different type of vehicle where I raise money from high net worth individuals, where if they put $50,000 in and they lose that, it's no big deal to them. They looked at the investment, they planned for it to work out. Maybe it didn't work out. It was a loss, right? These are just generally what happens in the business. And I figured if I was able to raise capital from those type of investors who were more understanding of how investments work, it's more of managing money instead of people. So I sought out to launch another fund after that first fund raised, and we sold those assets and paid investors. We set up our next fund for $10 million, and it was for high net worth individuals. And we had to start putting ourselves in places where these individuals were and start to create those relationships. Now, raising capital is a whole nother business, completely separate from your everyday business, right? People got to get to know, like, and trust you, and you have to be able to prove you have a track record. So it's a slow process on raising capital. So it took us a while, but we were in the right places where we were able to connect with the right people. Then after that, people start to refer when you do what you say you're going to do. And that's pretty much how we built our book of business, attending masterminds and putting ourselves into places where there was high net worth individuals and really educating them on what we do. And that's really what raising capital is an education process, because people have to get to know, like, and trust you. And they do that whether you're doing online webinars, or you have things out on social media, or you have some type of community where you're educating people, podcasts, just omnipresence everywhere, every time, where people can see you, to get to know, like, and trust you. And a few years later, they may invest with you. It's one thing is the actual investment, and the other thing is the sponsor. So doing more due diligence, the same due diligence you would do on a deal, you would do on a sponsor, the person who's driving the bus, because when things go left, you want to know that this person is going to stand up tall and, carry the weight and communicate. So, that's when investors want to align themselves with someone who they can trust us to communicate when things go right or wrong and be able to steer the ship in the right way, especially in a market like now, you know?
Right. And based on what you're saying, and so Fuquan, our goal is to help people and to help people believe that they can do it. And so you've mentioned a couple times, like my husband and myself, we came from very humble beginnings.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And so I want you to just tell a little story. So if you came from humble beginnings, you started this journey when you were 24 years old. How did you know, like what gave you a vision to want to achieve something like this? Like, did you go to college? Like, what happened? What can you say to somebody else that may have come from humble beginnings and they're trying to figure out how to make it? Like, what did you do?
You got to be hungry.
Oh,
You got
my
to be
husband,
hungry.
that's his favorite word.
You gotta be hungry. You gotta be hungry. Yeah, you gotta be hungry. So it's right, desire, passion, hunger. You know, it's not even like willpower. It's like hunger drives everything. And if you have that hunger in you, nothing can stand in front of you, right? So if you have your mindset on doing something and you're passionate about it, you're gonna investigate. I was so passionate about creating this fund. I connected with the SEC attorney. I put them on retainer. I asked them a bunch of questions. I learned about raising capital, the do's and don'ts, the things I needed to do. I educated myself. I put myself in areas where there were other capital raisers and sponsors. I just educated myself. And I constantly kept going out, promoting, marketing myself, educating people. I'm a real operator, so it wasn't too hard for me to show them a deal that I was currently doing and then show them the results after I did it and repeating that process over and over and over and over again, right? So it's just you have to be hungry. And if you're hungry, you will figure out a way to do it. If you really want it, if you do it like your life depends on it, I believe nothing can stop you.
Oh, I believe that too.
Yes.
And you were that smart when you were 24 years old. Like you said, you were a kid.
Well, when you grow up having candlelight dinners, not the romantic ones when electricity is off, because your mom can't afford to pay the electrical bill, it's a different type of hunger.
Yes.
Yeah. If you grow up with your back against the wall, you fight harder for things, right? So it's always been adversity. So I grew up through adversity, single parent household, mom's, welfare, 5 kids. So, for me, it was hunger from the beginning because I didn't want to live like that. I didn't want to be in that situation that I saw my mom in struggling.
Oh, yes.
That wasn't comfortable for me. So I always knew that if I have the will and the power to do something different, if it's my own choice, but it's going to come from that work, effort, and grit I'm going to put in, I'm not going to sit still. I'm going to go out and get it.
I like that.
I do too.
I like
don't even
that.
know what
I like
is.
that. I like that.
I mean, if you think about it, it's not really that difficult if you're hungry, right? So you can go to meetups, meetup.com. I'm sure you guys have them there. You can go to meetup.com if you're listening to this. You can pick places 5 miles away from you, real estate events, go there, get educated, network, connect, study, keep going. What some people want is instant gratification. They go, I've been doing it for 3-4 months and nothing happens, so they give up. You might have got to go 5 years until something go. You got to keep going and going and going and going and going until you can't go anymore, right? So when you go, like, people always ask me, to hit me on social media and go, hey, give me some advice on how I can get started. And I go, okay, quick, go to meetup.com, register for an event, 5 miles in your area, go to the event, hit me back when you do that. And I'll follow with that person. Did you schedule a meetup? Oh, no, not really. Okay, so you don't want it. You're wasting my time. Like, you think a bag of money is going to fall out the sky? You're not just going to make any effort. Like, you're reaching out to me for help because you see me. What you're seeing is 26 years of grit. And it looks easy to you now because you're looking at how I'm doing the houses and what I'm doing, and you see me online and you go, oh, I want to do what he do. You can't do what I do until you did what I did, right?
In other words, you got to walk them footsteps in the same steps that you went through. All them steps you went through. You got the struggle, the little bit of things that you went through up front to get to where you are now. All those in between times, the valley times that nobody see.
Correct.
Nobody was there but you.
Correct.
Those valley times.
Yep. You can't do what I do until you did what I did. And the people don't realize that. Like, a lot of people are not willing to put in the work. They just want just the result, but they don't want to go through the process. And it's through the journey who makes you who you are. Right? Getting knocked down, going through the struggle, it makes you more resilient. It makes you push harder. You just have to believe in yourself. And I think that's the first part. People just want want instant gratification. I want to go through the process.
But you know, in the process, and I call it the valley when you're going through the process, right? You learn more while you're in that valley than when you're sitting on top of the hill.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're in the valley, you're trying to figure stuff out. You're trying to learn. You're trying to, hey, I want to make it to that mountaintop, but I can't make it until I go through this process in this valley to learn what I need to do. So when I get to the mountaintop, I can stay there. I won't just fall down because I didn't learn what I need to do when I got there. So I like that. I like that.
Yeah, I got a surprise for the listeners. You'll never stay at the mountaintop. You'll always be at the peak and the valley, peak
That's
and
right.
valley, peak and valley, peak and valley.
That's right.
And you got to be able to handle that flow.
That's right.
Yep,
If
yep.
you can't handle that flow, real estate investing
Yeah, that's right.
is not, because
I
like you
think when people get at the peak, they get soft.
oh,
They
I
get
see.
comfortable.
Yeah, yeah,
You got to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
that's right.
Like I always want to be in a valley. I always want to be day one.
That's when you're learning.
Yeah.
I want to learn, but I'm not sure yet. I want to be in the valley learning. But that's but that is when you become the best you. That is when you learn
That's
the
when you
most.
learn.
When
Yeah.
you're in the pave running, when you're in the valley. I don't like the valley, but that's how we become what we are today, because we were in the
It
valley.
was in the valley.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Fuquan, you mentioned something when you was talking earlier about note. Could you kind of explain what a note is so the listeners can understand what a note is on what you was talking about earlier when you was buying the bank notes and stuff?
I think it's the best investment strategy in the universe. I mean, it's laptop, cell phone. So the way it worked is, you know, when a global financial crisis happened in 06 to 08, right? So the banks were the bad guys because they were foreclosing on people, right? So what they started to do was, instead of foreclosing, they started to sell the paper out the back door. So at that time, there was really no regulation. Regular people like me and you could go to a bank and buy debt, and they were selling it for pennies on the dollar. So I'll give you an example. We would buy, mostly I played in the secondary mortgage space, where at that time, if you remember, the banks were giving 100% financing. They'll give you an 80% loan and a 20% loan. Sometimes you got 110 or 100% financing, right? You fog a mirror, you get a loan. 100% financing, no money down, stated loan, all those crazy loans they were doing.
Yeah.
So a lot of those second mortgages were the redheaded stepchilds. They just book charged those off as bad debt, and they try to work out modifications with the homeowners with the first mortgage. So there were banks literally selling those second mortgages for 5-10 cents on the dollar. So you can literally buy a $50,000 second mortgage for $5,000. And just imagine you're one of those homeowners that got a second mortgage for $50,000 when you close. I bought your debt for $5,000, but you still owe $50,000. I call you and go, hey, if you gave me $15,000, I'll wipe this loan out. I'm the new owner of your loan. You're more susceptible to saying, well, that's a discount. I'll take that. Let me get rid of this second mortgage. Now I just made $10,000 on my $5,000 investment, right? So we would buy notes and we would send letters out to homeowners and go, quick payoff, $15,000, right? Of course, we would start at 50%, then we would negotiate down so it was profitable. But we did that with a percentage of the loans, and then we called a few. Some we had to start foreclosure on to get the homeowner to work stuff out with us. But the reality is, if I bought that $50,000 note for $5,000, I can share my discount with you. I can basically say I'm gonna waive all your arrears. If you give me $1,000, we can start a payment of $300 a month. Now I spent $5,000 for the note. I got $1,000 back, so I'm into it for $400, and you're paying me $300 a month for whatever how many years. The face value of that note is still $50,000. So after a year of you paying me $300 a month, I can now go out and sell that $50,000 face value note for $25,000, and that's a good return because you have $25,000 in the bank account right now. It's not generating $300 a month, so it's better than having $25,000 in the bank, buying the note from me, making $300 a month, and the note is still worth $50,000. That homeowner refinance and pay off, they still have to pay $50,000 off because that's the lien on the house. So I can buy a note for $5,000. Take $1,000 down, collect $300 a month for a year, then sell it off for $25,000. So when I learned that part of the business, I was like, why am I flipping houses? This is crazy. I can do all this from my laptop, cell phone, no tenants, toilets, trash, termites, no running to Home Depot. I could just work with homeowners and negotiate. So it's a high-end collection strategy, but the mortgage is, the note is secured on the property, and you can foreclose from second position subject to the first. It just means you take over the property. First mortgage is still there, but now you own the property and you can evict the person who was living there. You can rent it out, still pay the first mortgage and you're not on the hook for it because you're not financially responsible. So after I learned that business, I was like, this is great. And I did that for years, and I created my first fund raising capital to buy notes. And I did that for a very long time, all the way into 2019. Did a little bit in 2020, but after COVID, kind of phased out of that business because it was really, tough to foreclose on people during COVID and everything else. So today, fast forward, we have two verticals we focus on. One is luxury spec homes in the high-end areas, and also multifamily in the Southeast, where we can do our impact projects. So like I mentioned earlier, I come from a low-income area. So what gives me my feeling of importance is going into these low-income areas, adding value, putting the properties back on the tax roll, giving the residents a better place to live. So we do affordable quality housing for seniors who can't afford a rent bump, low-income families with their Section 8 behavioral health programs, and we do a lot of that in the Southeast.
So you said luxury homes and multifamily homes. So I noticed you said, well, you didn't say it, but I read it, I think, that you focus on Class B type multifamily homes. Is that correct?
That's year built. So the classes of the properties go by year built. So 70s would be C, late 70s C plus. B is like 80s to 90s, stuff like that. So we try to buy properties that it's not that old, in low income areas, whether it's like Macon, Georgia, Birmingham, Alabama. We buy those properties anywhere from like 40 units to 100 units is our sweet spot.
Okay.
So we take those down. Maybe they have deferred maintenance, poor staff. So we'll go in, we'll get rid of the staff, we'll clean up the building, give it some curb appeal, turn the units nicely, LVT floorings, new cabinets, new appliances, and then we get whatever's HUD market rents. We kind of set the price at that. We'll work with a low income tax credit to kind of get favorable financing from lenders who provide financing for affordable housing. And we pretty much focus on that. And that's our impact project that we do, providing quality affordable housing. But here in the Northeast, in New Jersey, I still do the flips, but we do a lot of ground up luxury spec homes.
So when you do the luxury spec homes, you have your own company that does the building, or do you go out? Oh,
Correct.
wow.
We're outsourced to licensed plumbers, electricians, but we do the foundation, framing, roofing, sheetrock, all of that stuff. We self-manage that part, and we outsource the mechanicals.
Well, now I got to ask you, do you have a college degree, or are you just this smart?
I have a GSD.
What is that?
Get stuff done.
So you really don't know nothing about engineering and architect and all of this?
No, but all you have to know is the people who do it, and you can be the director of the orchestra. You don't have to play in it.
I just love you.
All you need is the players. You don't have to know how. You have to know the people who know how, and you just tell those people what to do. And those people can have the degrees.
Wow, I am so impressed with you. So, like, the way that you make your money, because you got to have money to live. Do you sell the spec homes, or the luxury homes, or do you rent them out?
No, we sell those. So we have two verticals in our fund that we raise capital for. One is luxury spec homes. We get the large cash injections from that. And the other is the rentals that bring in a steady monthly rental income.
And so now, do you still go around trying to get investors, or do you have your investors in place?
No, we're always raising capital. We're always trying to build relationships with capital partners to partner with us. We have a fund. We have two funds. One is a fix and flip fund where we pay investors 12%. They're in that fund for 2 years. They don't get a payment until the property is sold. The property can sell between 12 and 24 months. So they go into that fund, they get 12%, and it's collateralized against the property we buy. Those are the luxury spec homes. We also have a mezzanine fund where investors can earn anywhere between 10 and 13%, and those are annually, and those are monthly payments. And we use that money to stabilize our multifamily portfolio. So investors, depending on where they are in their journey, if they're in a growth mode and they can wait 2 years to get a payment, they will invest in a fix and flip fund. Some people like being attached to one property. If they want monthly payments, they can go into a mezzanine fund. The way the mezz fund works, though, is an exit of 6% pref. They get paid annually on a monthly basis, and then they get the exit of 7, 6, or 4, that deferred interest to make up the 13, 12, and 10, if that makes sense. So they get 6% annually. So they're making that money annual basis monthly, but that's a 3-year term. At the end of that 3 years, they'll get the difference of it, which makes up whatever they 13, 12, or 10. And the difference between those two classes is the amount of money they invest in. Of course, they're going to get 13% if they put $500,000 or more. 250,000 invested gets you 12%, and anything less than 250,000 gets you 10%, and that's usually how that works.
Okay, so now we might have somebody listening, their antennas is going up. Can you tell the listeners what the requirements are for them to be able to invest with you? Because I know you have a net worth requirement.
Yeah, they are. They have to be an accredited investors. If you're married jointly, you have to make $300,000 a year. Single, $200,000 a year. If you don't have that, you have to have $1 million net worth, not including your primary residence. That's pretty much the qualification.
Okay, all right. And so
That's the definition of an accredited investor.
Yeah.
well, I like that because if they don't have the money, like you said before, they can't afford to take the hit if there's a loss. So
Yeah, I mean, you have to have an investor mindset, and I still talk to people who don't meet that criteria because they may not be there today, but they may be there in the future. So I still like to create that relationship, educate them on who we are, what we do, and because again, remember, I said they got to get to know, like, and trust you, and people generally don't invest with you when they first meet you. It's through a relationship basis, it's through education, them getting to know you. Then eventually, once they're educated, which takes out the risk, right, and in ignorance, then they're more susceptible to investing.
All right, Fuquan. So if you're an investor or you're a new investor and you decided, okay, I heard this episode here and I want to hop into this investment mode here. What advice would you give them if they're first starting out in the investment? What advice?
Education is everything. Educate yourself on how to do due diligence, mitigate risk, the asset class that you're investing in, the sponsor that you want to abdicate your money to, who you're going to give it to. Because most people, they'll give their money over to their financial advisor. They'll put it in a 401k without even thinking about it, right? Because it's just a traditional mindset. But when it comes to alternative assets, it's a different ballgame. So you have to educate yourself on the field. You have to educate yourself on how to do due diligence on a sponsor. You want to make sure when you find that sponsor, they have a track record. Because there's a lot of people that's out there playing games. They're just have education, but they're not boots in the ground. Like, for me, if you remember the old football coach, Jimmy Johnson, used to walk the field before every game, right? So I'm in the field constantly. I'm not one of these guys, and there's nothing wrong with it. I'm not one of these guys looking at spreadsheets and doing deals over the computer. I'm actually out in the field. So, you want to find somebody who's actively involved and have their, hand on the wheel, so to speak. And then, if the investment is sound, you have a sound sponsor, sound investment, you're educated on that asset class, and, then you can make a decision from there.
All right.
Yeah, I just love it. Okay, Fuquan, can you please tell the listeners how to track you down if they want to reach out to you?
Yeah, so I'm all over social media at Fuquan Bilal. You can also go to my website, schedule discovery call if you'd like to learn more, NNGCapitalFund.com. That's NNGCapitalFund.com, schedule discovery call. I'd like to know more about you, your investment journey, and see if there's anywhere we can help.
Wonderful.
Nice. But listen, for Fuquan, thank you for joining Bartell's Money Talk. This has been a great conversation.
Oh, it has been.
So listeners, if you like this episode, please like, share, and subscribe. And reach out to Fuquan because he has some great knowledge. And I think he can help you succeed if you're looking to invest. So thank you again for joining us, Fuquan, and we look forward to speaking to you again on Bartell's Money Talk.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.